We're happening. Okay, cool. Cool. A little periscope. Microphone. Ready, cat? You ready to do this? Monkey, you ready? You want to get up here? Come. Get up there while the cat's not there. There you go. All right. That's how it's done. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Monkey's here. High five. High five. Boom. She's ready to rock, right? We're all ready to rock here. So, welcome. It's Monday night. Tomorrow's Charity Tuesday, by the way. I still have not selected a charity. I'm mulling the options. I'll have something ready to go probably by tonight or tomorrow morning up and chosen. What was I going to talk? Oh, Monkey don't want the bed anymore? All right. What was I going to talk about? I was going to talk about, just a brief mention. The argument's pretty solid that Carl Icahn is looking to make a purchase of a chunk of Bed Bath & Beyond. And what form that would take, I don't know. But seems like it would be sort of along the lines of what Ryan Cohn was trying, which is a spin-off of Baby, because that's the profitable brand that could be immediately worth like 10 times what Bed Bath & Beyond is worth right now. If that's the case, cool. I'm not sure when any of that would be announced. So, what would be the play? And if that's the case, would it be simultaneously with a closure of GameStop shorts that Icahn had as well? I have no idea. There seems to be lots of plotting and planning going on in the background, and the dulcimer tones of Hong Kong. All right, we gotta turn that off before I forget. Bam. Ha! Okay, Kat, what do you got going on? That's all I had off the top of the show. Just kind of throw that out there. And then I guess we dive in and see what's on your crazy minds, because you guys always have lots of questions about everything. All right. Here's Colin's happy birthday. Thoughts on the PR from NextBridge? Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. NextBridge basically announced, like, hey, we finished our drilling, which is that Kabuki guy, the short seller dude who, with all the Seeking Alpha articles that basically front load his trades, he was like, NextBridge isn't going to finish their drilling. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? They got plenty of money. They got the drilling machines. They're going to finish their drilling. And they finished their drilling. They did their 5 test holes they're required to do, and they found basically 5 new layers of petroleum. So they're adding to how much oil they have access to with their drilling records. And then said the thing that, like, we are not looking to get this oil to market. We're just figuring out where all the oil is and figuring out next steps. And my guess is those next steps are package it up, sell it to somebody big who can easily lay down pipelines and do all the stuff that are needed to exploit the oil, because that stuff is incredibly expensive and would take a whole new stock offering to raise that capital. And then we know what happens when that happens. Dead spiral them out of existence again. So my guess is that they're pushing for to sell all this oil to someone big. So I think it's kind of the same plan. And that's why all the executives at NextBridge are all people that have sold like mineral rights, oil rights, things like that in the past. Chris Collins, out of the brokers, announced the new volume. I don't know what that one's referring to. I don't know. Mario Valdez, howdy Houston. So it's very apparent that the U.S. has a gun crime problem. What is your stance on gun control, and how do you think we can attempt to curb violent crimes committed with guns? Every couple of months, you guys want to ask me this question. Every couple of months, all people are like, you stupid hippie. I guess we can talk about it. Why not? Why not talk about it again? Alienate half the audience one more time. I believe in gun control. It's my interpretation of the U.S. Constitution that Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution determines how the militia is regulated. Basically, states choose the officers, the training and weaponry is provided for by the U.S. government, and the regulation of the militia is prescribed by how Congress determines. So that the Second Amendment, when it talks about well-regulated militia, they're referring to the regulations of the militia on Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which means Congress can make whatever law they want to regulate the militia. The 1913 Militia Act, 1903 Militia Act, whichever one it is, determines that who fits that militia. It's like, I can't remember what it is, 18 to 47 or something like that. So, if your weapons are not being provided to you by the government, you're not being trained by the government, are you actually a member of the militia? If you don't fit within the confines of what is in the Militia Act, are you a member of the militia? Unorganized or other? And I think like every member of Switzerland, every person in Switzerland is a member of the Swiss militia, right? And they have a weapon provided by the government, and they got a set number of ammo, and they're required to have it locked in a secure thing, and they can get inspected by their commanders. And why not? Why not license, register, train, insure guns? And if you can't meet the requirements to own that weapon because, 4F or whatever, felon, you can't keep the weapon safe, you're like giving it to toddlers or whatever, yeah, you can lose your license. If you lose your license, you can't have the gun. If you have the gun without a license, make the punishment absolutely unbearable. Absolutely just awful. 600,000 guns a year are stolen from their legal owners, and every single one of those guns enter the criminal underworld. So the lawful gun owners are the source of criminal weapons because they aren't keeping them. They're putting them in their glove box or their cup holder or whatever. They have them in an unsecured cabin. Like they get stolen and they end up in the market. So I think regulate them. If your guns are stolen, you didn't secure them properly, you lose your license, right? So that makes sense to me. And if you just do that with enough people, then only people who are responsible gun owners will have the guns. And if you catch someone with a gun and they shouldn't have one, well, you take that gun, you melt it down, and you throw their ass in jail for 30 years. I don't care. Right? Like if you can't go take a class and fill out the paperwork, then I lost too many people in the last 5 years to gun violence, and doesn't sit well with me that you can just buy a weapon, carve a swastika into it, and blow a bunch of kids away at a school. That to me doesn't scream freedom. That to me screams failure of the entire social apparatus. Is it so bad to make people take class? Learn the safe way to store something. Require them to store it safely. Make sure it doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people. Be like if you join the military, if you're in the armed services, and the government gives you like an M4 rifle, and you fucking lose it, I don't know where it is. The M4 is gone. It's somewhere. You're gonna go to Leavenworth, right? Like if you just happen to lose that gun. I mean, the government is such a dick about this that they've charged soldiers for damaged boots when they had their legs blown off by a landmine, right, or an IED. Like, if their accounting gets that precise, then we should have no problem keeping track of such things. That's my opinion. Okay, moving on. That way, everyone's like pulling their hair out and getting all mad at me, but whatever. Okay. Lost Waves. Is AST full, or did all the shares that needed to go out there just go out just fine, but there is still some left? AST said they're not full. The impression originally was that they're full, but apparently they're not. Although, was it TD is trying to send multiple times, trying to send shares to AST, and then TD says that AST is like, oh, the file's corrupted, we can't do it. Aren't these physical shares? Right, like a piece of paper in a folder. Like, is it getting corrupted because they're sending it through the high school swimming pool or something? Like what's corrupting the piece of paper that they have? Uh, yeah, right. No, it's not like the ones and zeros that make up some sort of data folder that they're sending. It's physical shares. It's a piece of paper that says this many shares. That's what's being sent. Maybe it's this many shares, and then there's a little zip file that says, and so much of this belongs to this person, so much of this belongs to that person. But if that's happening, then just print it out and send it to them. Let them enter it back in. Mm, mm. Okay. Lost waves when you uploading your music to YouTube. I don't know. I've got some on some zip drives. I just need to find a zip drive that I can hook up to a computer again. I'm gonna have to like go on eBay and find one. None of them are done. They're all like half songs with no drum tracks, and sometimes there's like no bass line down or whatever. But yeah, that's maybe I can finish it up someday. Maybe. I don't know. Wichita Sky Spy. Houston, if you turned off chat until the show starts, you would not always be behind the chat. Happy birthday. Well, if I turned off chat until the show starts, then I would have nothing to read. Because it takes a while. I need that chat buffer to make it so that I can have something to talk about when I come on the show. And it's just, gets you guys in here. You guys chit chat and have a little time while I like go shove food in my face or whatever it is I need to do. So there you go. Peace Tech. Thoughts on Acme and their earnings? Are we watching a debt spiral? No. And they've, again, like, if I were a Canadian tech company that's owned by a large portion of the Canadian government, I would not be too worried about a debt spiral. Especially when, you have viable businesses that just did like $40 million in business with a G10 country, things like that. I won't be too worried. Last way is pick a death watch party during your 4-day trip or what? Well, that might be such a bad idea. I don't know if I'd have access. We'll find out. So yeah, I'm going to Whistler in a couple weeks, and I somehow messed up the dates in my head, and I'm going to be there for the 4 days before everyone gets there. So solo trip to Whistler for Houston. Yeah, table for one, please. Thank you very much. That's gonna be a Whistler trip. Right, Monkey? And you're gonna get to go hang out with Shawnee. Yep. Yeah, that's what you're doing. So oops. Ha. If anyone wants a couch to sleep on a Whistler, I'll be there. Okay. B-Ball 3710. I bought MMTLP and I did not own any of the original Torch. Is there a small % chance I'll get screwed and not a single dollar back? No. There is not. Doesn't matter if you bought one was MMTLP or bought one was Torch, it's all the same. So it's all a billion shares of fakeness, but a few real ones in there. Grape. Houston, what are your predictions for the AMC upcoming vote? Also, any chance B Big gets back to $3 or should I try to average down? What kind of birds are penguins? Penguins are not seagull, not chicken hybrids. That's what penguins are. Be big to $3. I don't see it happening, and I bought in at like 6, so I just wrote it off. I don't see it ever being viable. I mean, maybe if the government actually bans TikTok, people might go to Vinco's like video thing. But my guess is that YouTube will take that market so much faster than Vinco will. I don't see it going anywhere. They tried and failed. Problem is the insiders were suing each other and they had their halt and it just turned into a giant mess. Michael Harrow asks, Houston, do you think the latest PR press release from NextBridge will help push FINRA to open up soon, or is that wishful thinking? I don't think FINRA will do a damned thing until the court tells them they have to. Or if the court says, you know what, we can't sue them, whatever, and then FINRA maybe feel free to like do something. But they're not going to make any action until a court says something. And that's that they're hoping they can just sit there and go la 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 la, and it will last long enough that we lose interest and kind of just fade away or die 40 years down the road or whatever. They're not going to do anything at all until the court tells them to. Chris Collins wasn't the SEC due to comment on the 40 million offering on like the 23rd. But I thought they had amended their filing to say that they weren't going to do it anytime soon. Like they're, don't think of a date. We're just kind of, we're testing the waters. We're not going to do it right now. I thought that was what they were doing. Star Wars didn't FINRA finally delete it due to Rosa calling them out? That's my guess. Is that the folks found out they hadn't deleted. They sent Rosa information. Rosa went, "Hey, they haven't deleted," and then all of a sudden FINRA was like, "Delete, backdate it. Oh, everything's fine," and that is tampering with evidence. So once a ruling is made by the court, Rosa can make a filing saying, "Hey, Your Honor, I want you to notice that they tampered with evidence and made it look as though they had deleted when they in fact had not, and they backdated that thing." And then she can get sanctions against them for that. Okay. Cheshire K. Houston, is the delay for AMC conversion causing shorts to cover since cost to borrow is so expensive? Batman needs a cape. Monkey Butt has her blanket. Chilby used to have a nice little neckerchief, but I think he lost in the forest somewhere. All right, buddy. I don't know if it's causing anyone to cover so much as people are like, "Ooh, I can buy things that might be worth more." It might just be FOMO happening. The cost of borrow has been insane for the better part of 6 months. So that really hasn't had much of a play there. I don't know. I mean, most of them have managed to do some sort of covering simply because Antara put up like all those shares as lendable or identifiable. So they can be like, "I identified, I'm fine, I'm covered." And that's the reality of reg shows. As long as you can identify where something is, that's good enough. That's good enough. It'd be like me selling you a car because I know a guy who owns one and I have no intention of ever like procuring that car for you. You come like, "Hey man, where's my car?" Like, "Hey, I gave you a sheet of paper with a picture of the car on it." That's good enough. And you can sell that car for just as much as you paid for it. Except I sold that same picture to 9 million other people and no one wants another picture of the car. So, tough shit. Deal with it. That's kind of the way the market is set up. Dog Mom, really enjoy your show, Houston. Well, thank you, Dog Mom. I bet you enjoy dogs too. Jason, Houston, the next time you go to Paris, don't jump off the bridge. You would be insane. Ha ha! That water's gross. I never could go in that water anyway. Like jumping in the Cuyahoga River. No thanks. I know it's been like 70 years, 50 years since it caught on fire. No thank you. Gabriel B. Houston, is Ape utterly flogged or is there still hope? No, I think Ape is going to be worth way more than it is right now when they finally combine everything. Probably 2, 3 times, 4 times what it's worth if you bought it. No financial advice, no financial advisor. But I'll probably throw a chunk of my next paycheck at a whole bunch of those because why not? Star Warrior. Oh shoot! So next bridge is finished drilling, and now they just need to sell. Nothing we can do besides waiting. How's Rosa doing? Hopefully she's not overstressing herself. I think. Well, they have to do drilling to meet their lease requirements. So like when you lease the land, university lands, which is owned by the University of Texas, state land, it helps pay for the college. Like the leasing payments pay for the college. When you lease that land, there's use requirements. So you have to like actually, you can't just sit on the land and go, I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm just gonna hold this and sit here forever. You actually have to pay money and drill and use the land. So they have to drill at least 5 holes a year. So they finish the drilling of their 5 holes, and so they'll have to do 5 more next year, and before March of next year to keep the lease current. And it costs a lot of money. Drilling holes is ridiculously expensive. If you're in mining, if you're doing core samples, $100 a meter, easily. Probably more than that now. Probably like $150 a meter. So if you're drilling down 3,000 meters, okay, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars just to make the hole. Plus you have the people, the equipment rental, the processing of the assays, and all that stuff, and it gets really, really expensive. So they need, $15 million a year just to drill those 5 holes. So you're looking at $3 million a hole in the end. It ain't cheap. So they gotta keep figuring out how to like borrow money or raise funds to maintain that. So yeah, I think they're ultimately looking to sell. How's Rosa doing? Hopefully she's not overstressed. I think she's done her Texas bar exam. I haven't heard from her. I told her like go sleep for a week, and then I'll worry about contacting you. So I haven't heard from her since she took the exam, which I think was this past weekend. So hopefully everything went well. She was stressing because she had booked what she thought was a hotel, and it turned out to be a youth hostel. And it wasn't just a youth hostel, it was a youth hostel that had co-ed bathrooms, which, she's an observant Muslim woman, right? She wants to be able to like take her headscarf off and wash her face and do things like that. And like she wouldn't, because of the social dynamics of having being a co-ed bathroom, she wouldn't be able to do that. So she had to like cancel a reservation, and then she was trying to book somewhere else, and then everything was full because everyone in Texas is trying to get to Austin to do the bar exam all at the same time. So hopefully she got that worked out. I'd offered to like strong arm some friends who live down there to lend her a room, but I think she managed to find a place. So fingers crossed for her. I bet she did well. She's a smart lady. Decatur Raw called Fidelity today, and they hung up on me first go around. Second time, I spent 30 minutes on the line with 2 reps, only for them to tell me I just have to wait. They did ask, they didn't, and so they asked, did I want to sell? Well, tell them, yeah, if the price is right, right? Totally, I'll sell for like $20 kajillion a share. If you have a buyer who wants to buy it, that's solid. So next time, ask them what the price is. Like, you make it worth my while, or I'm going to keep calling you and bugging the shit out of you. Which one will it be? What's your price for me to stop calling you every day, bugging you? Tremendous Houston, what is the highest a meme stock sold for that we know of, AMC, GME, or other? Well, during the sneeze, the baby squeeze in January of 2021, a fractional share of GME sold for the equivalent of over $5,000 a share. So that's probably the highest we've seen so far that's been confirmed. Outside of that, I don't know if anything's approached that. Does anyone else know of any fractional shares that have sold for that equivalent? I'd be curious to know. Matthew Dahm. Obviously, I know you want MMTLP to reopen and trade 2 days, but in your gut, what do you think will actually happen to resolve this problem? There's only 2 ways, 3 ways to resolve. 3 ways to resolve. 1, the court says, you know what? I don't like the fact that there's all these fake shares out there that does not sit well with me, and it doesn't feel like it's quite meets the merit of legality. So I'm going to say you're going to have to trade for a couple more days. And FINRA, you're going to issue a corporate order that says, corporate action that says, brokers, you must close all short positions. Anyone who trades under you, who has a short position, you will be forced to close that position for them by any means necessary. And that means liquidation of assets of those shorts. And if that's not enough, you will tap into the prime brokers and take their money until you can close. That's pie in the sky, would be awesome. That's how it should happen. Number 2, NextBridge announces that they have sold the assets, and in doing so, they issue a giant cash dividend, which would then result in them sending a bunch of money to AST sending a bunch of money to the DTC sending a bunch of money to the brokers, and the brokers having to collect a bunch of money from all the shorts to make good on their pledges that they have in those fake shares they made. And number 3 is a forced settlement from the government. The government says, you know what? This is a mess. Everyone who has a fake share, give them this much money for it. Be done with it. And that one seems like the most unlikely, simply because some people might not want to give up their shares, and others may want to give them up, but they've got a real share in their account, therefore they might not get paid. Other weird things may happen. But those are the only 3 options I can see solving anything. Otherwise, it just lingers in ambiguity forever, and we keep calling up Fidelity and bugging them every single solitary day until everyone in their call center, puts one in between their own eyes. They did not pay me enough to deal with these people every day. Oh my gosh, this is awful. I wish I'd never taken this job. Being a Walmart greeter was so much better. Trey Spider, hello. Trey Spider, hello. Hello, Trey Spider. Hello, Trey Spider. Mario Valdez, thank you for answering my question. I know it's a touchy subject, and I don't want to strike a nerve. Okay. All right. That's okay. It's kind of a quiet house in here today. Not too many of you. But see, I started like 30 minutes early, but I'm almost caught up already. So, ta-da. Krishna Nath, what do you think about AST transfer for MMTLP? Do you think NextBridge will be traded 2 days for MMT complementary? I mean, you can transfer if you want to. I'm not bothering, simply because if it does, for some reason, any reason, whether it's a court order or if suddenly the brokers and FINRA go, you know what, we should have 2 more days of trading, or we're going to open up a gray market or whatever. I want to be able to have access to that gray market in case prices go so stupid. I can make more off of it than I think any potential dividend would be. If that's the case. I mean, if the prices are like $20, I think the dividend would be way larger than that. So I'm not going to bother for $20. No, I'll sit and wait for, $50, $100, whatever it could be. But my guess is if they did open a trading, it'd be for thousands. There was someone did a great video of the level 2s on January 8th, I believe, showing like 500,000 shares were available from like $1,000 to $4,000 or something. We're like the bulk of the level 2s were in the hundreds and thousands of dollars for their ask prices. So it was primed and ready to go. If there was no shorting going on and they were doing closing, the price would have gone to the thousands of dollars in 20 minutes. It would have been crazy. It would have been like, shut down. Oh, it's going again, shut down. It's going again, shut down. Because if there are no fake shares to sell, then the only thing available are the really expensive shares that people will only part with for like the cost of a really nice home and a lifetime of vacation. Where was I? Michael Harrow, Houston. You were giving cooking tips on Twitter. How about a Houston YouTube cooking channel? That's probably not gonna happen. A, that's a lot of work to do. B, I'm lazy as hell when it comes to cooking. Like, I cook lazy food. I'll cook tasty lazy food, but mostly lazy food. If I had like a family I was cooking for or something, that'd be different, because the cost benefit of spending an hour cooking versus enjoying it with a whole bunch of people is different than like just cooking for myself and then I'm enjoying it for 5 minutes and I can move on with my life. So yeah, it's not really my hobby. Every once in a while, I'll be like, hey, look at this thing I made. And that might be as much you get out of me. Diane B. Houston, have you tried your pitch Geo show to PBS? I've talked with someone from PBS that worked for PBS in South Dakota. We talked about doing sort of a show that was like the geology of the Rockies. So maybe like Wyoming, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, like go together with their PBSs and do a show like that. Another friend of mine in Seattle, she is a TV producer. She's done like lots of reality shows, and then her husband is like a big time music producer, and he gets just a boatload of these government grants to do art projects and produce music for people and do shows and stuff. And so he's like teaching her how to navigate these art grants. And she was talking about like approaching PBS, getting a good chunk of money, and then doing sort of a geology show. I'm okay with that. I just want to like go poke rocks. So let's go poke rocks. Ted Tremendous, Houston, happy birthday. Why do societies with currencies evolve faster than those without money, like tribes in Africa? I don't know if it's necessarily evolves faster, but they definitely take a different path. Because most societies then that develop some sort of currency are largely have like agriculture and other systems of industry, so that you had to make some sort of worth in the society if you weren't like the one with crops. But a lot of societies, just their subsistence, they don't have any need. Like the land provides enough. There aren't too many of them on the land, and they're pretty cool with it. So I think it's a different thing. Like I don't know. I do recommend everyone should read Guns, Germs, and Steel, and the sequel Collapse, about how societies collapse as well. But it paints that picture. Like Jared Diamond, who is the author. He's a biogeographer, by the way, not like a anthropologist. He's a biogeographer, and he was, I think, if I remember correctly, he's in Papua New Guinea, and one of the porters that was helping him like navigate the jungle and go to these places to, like find little bugs and creatures that he studies, was like, "Hey, man, why do we have nothing and you white people have all this stuff? And, like you go everywhere. Like, why didn't we do that?" And he was like, "Huh, why?" And it came down to Guns, Germs, and Steel. So part of it had to do with animal husbandry, and that dates back to people in the Asian steppe. The Mongols, the horse people. Like they're the first ones probably to tame large beasts of burden, and those large beasts of burden, you keep them in herds, diseases pass back and forth, you have a bunch of people around those things. Eventually there's cross transmission from horse to people, and then the people die. And the ones that don't die are all of a sudden immune to whatever disease it was those horses were giving them. But they were carriers themselves. And the horse people, they lived out in the steppe, out in the grass fields themselves. And every once in a while, once a year, they would come into town to like sell a bunch of horse meat or pelts or whatever it is they have. And they would do their business, and they would pass their disease onto that town. And everyone in that town would die. And the next year, the horse people come back, be like, "Huh, there's an empty town here. Some of you like to have a town? Let's have this town." And they take that over. And that's how, like, we're talking 10,000 BC to probably 4,000 BC. These people from the steppe would eventually, like, sort of adopt a society, because everyone will be dead. They're like, "Oh, neat. We have a village already built for us. Let's take it here." And they would sort of civilize themselves. And others be like, "We're good. We're going to keep being horse people." And then that progression would move onwards. That animal husbandry passed through Asia, made its way into Europe and North Africa, and people started getting diseases like crazy, like just constantly getting weird poxes and flus and colds and everything else. And that was an inadvertent weapon that explorers had at all times, starting with the horse people in the steppe, moving in to European conquest. Conquistadors landed in the Americas, and all of a sudden everybody started dying from preventable diseases because the people in the Americas, the Western Hemisphere, had never been exposed to any of these viruses before. They had no immunities, and 90% of the population died from viruses that the Europeans were completely immune to, from like the common cold. Common cold, when it was first introduced to humans in Europe and Asia, killed like 90% of the people who got the common cold. It was the 10% who survived that then passed on that immunity to the rest of the population. There's a really, when I was doing my space studies grad school, I did a paper on this village that was discovered in the mountains of Honduras by satellite, think by lidar, lasers going pew pew pew, measuring things, and they discovered this ancient city in Honduras that no one had known about for 500 years. And let's see if I can find ancient Honduras city. City discovered. Can't type. Discovered. Boom. Is it La Ciudad? 2009 background. Nope, that's not the one. Sorry, one sec. Let me find it here. Okay, this is from more recent. This is from 2021 about filmmakers going there. I want the original article. I have to open up my old paper. Here we go. City of the Monkey God. Okay. This might be it. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So, basically, so they discovered this city out in the mountains in Honduras, and some anthropologists and explorers like, let's go check it out. So they literally bushwhack their way through the forest. Bushwhack. And they come, boom, find the city. There's pyramids, there's dwellings, there's just mountains of bones. Bones of humans, bones of animals, bones, all sacrificed around the same time. And the hypothesis is that on the Caribbean side, the conquistadors landed, everyone started getting sick. So they fled. They're like, oh my God, this place is possessed by devils. Let's leave this place. And they went to the mountains to the city to try and find refuge. But in fact, they brought their diseases with them, and they killed everybody in the city. And in a last vain attempt to avoid, the punishment of the gods, they started sacrificing everything they could find. Every animal, monkey, you name it, cat, dog, cousin. Like, oh, we make enough sacrifices, this will stop happening. And then they all died, and the jungle grew over, and no one knew about this place for 500 years. A human being hadn't been there in so long that the jaguars and the pumas were naive. Meaning, you could walk right up to a jaguar and be like, what's up, buddy? And the jaguar would be like, huh, what are you? I've never seen one of you before. And that's incredible. This might not be the exact article that I cited, but it's about the same. No, I don't make me subscribe National Geographic. Just continue. Here, how about at .com. There we go. That was not successful. What? Continue. Whatever, National Geographic. I don't care anyway. This is, discovering LiDAR. Here we go. This is a better one. Here we go. This is from the New Yorker. All right. So same thing. Bushwhacking out there, finding all this stuff. So where was I going with that? Talking about diseases. The original question was currencies. Yeah. There might not be currencies, but there often are things that are still bartered. There's the group in, I want to say it was in, it's in the Pacific. What's that book? Sex, Lies of Cannibals takes place in Kiribati. There we go, Kiribati. And there's a certain island, Kiribati, where you had to take a giant rock of some kind, big weird carved rock, put in your canoe out to way, way, way out into the ocean to this one particular kind of abandoned island, and you dump your rock there, and you canoe back. And your social capital, like your wealth as a human being, was based upon your ability to canoe this rock out to this island. And when you canoed your rock out to the island, you would go and you look for the other rocks that people had taken out there, and you would like affirm, yes, I saw that rock out there. I can guarantee you that that rock is there. Therefore, that person has capital. And the next guy goes out, he's going to confirm if your rock is there. If it is, you have verified your capital with the community, and you now have some sort of established wealth. It's not always money. Sometimes it's gold. Sometimes it's beaver pelts or whatever, timber, shells, you name it. And so, modern currencies, paper money has only been around for a few hundred years. Before that was coins, or even just like weight in gold and silver. And that's kind of, I think, more of an adaptation to a particular agrarian society existing, and agrarian society becoming something where there's craftsmen and others that need, something to barter with. That's what I think. Okay. That help? I may have gone off on a lot of tangents there, but anyway, read Guns, Germs, and Steel. Okay. Dark Helmet. Happy birthday. Scott Adams got dumped by his distributor today. Yes, he did. He's having a real hard time right now. Oh, poor guy. And Rolnick Houston, I'm reading a 400-page family trust document in preparation for a family meeting. If the trust donates 1/3 of assets to charity, the other beneficiaries have to pay inheritance tax? I have no idea, Anna. That is not my field of expertise in any way, shape, or form. I could not answer you. Couldn't even begin to answer you how that would work. The idea of trusts are the trust itself is a nonprofit, and that therefore you don't get taxed if your money's in a trust, and the trust like buys things for you. Maybe gives you like a stipend, an allowance. But I don't know enough about the tax implications that I would. Someone knows a tax lawyer. Let's bring him on, ask him all his questions. Ted Tremendous. Houston, delinquencies at my local community bank were up 45% December. It seems like a lot, right? Most loans are housing bubble trouble. Yeah. We're starting to get a lot of those loans that came out in 2020 and 2021 are going to start resetting. Any of those bubble loans we had, those subprimes. So I think it's coming. Housing prices are way down. We've lost $2 or $3 trillion in value in the housing market across the country, and there's the fewest number of mortgage applications that have been recorded in the last 28 years. So to go back to the early 90s, when we were just coming out of the recession, to find numbers for housing mortgages at these levels. And the thing is that our mortgage market, our housing market hasn't collapsed yet. The last time the numbers were close to this being this low was like 2011, 2010, which was, 2-3 years removed from the collapse of the market. So, and just the downward trend continued for a couple of years later. We haven't had the real downward trend yet. The crash hasn't happened. So the fact that the numbers are this low right now, yeesh, I think it's going to get worse. Alan Komansky, AMC at $20 next month. By all means, that would be awesome. Diane B, hey, near Cuyahoga River. Actually, not that bad. Saw people fishing. Well, there you go. That's the benefits of the Clean Water Act right there. Which went and was implemented in 1972. So, all right. Let's see what happens when you do what you should do and protect the environment. People can go fishing in a river that you couldn't even put your finger in like 50 years ago because it would burn it off. Yogi 2012, West Virginia State Trooper, showed up at my door this evening. She was exhausted because she had to walk up my giant hill. Turns out my son was playing with an old iPhone and dialed 911. I felt so bad. It's true that, yeah, even if a phone doesn't have a SIM card in it, it will still hook up to emergency services, so watch out for that one. Fortunately, she was very nice, understanding. Well, there you go. That's good. Lee G. If you had choice, will you settle for $500 or get your 2 days of trading and I hope you can sell at 1,000? If I had my choice, I would want trading. I want trading and forced closing. I think that will mean the most dineros for anyone who holds this stock. I mean, if they give me $500 because there's nothing, like, oh well, I guess I'll take that. But I want position close only, forced liquidation of broker of hedge funds to close those shares. Make them realize their infinite risk and teach a lesson across the board. Let their head on a spike be a lesson to the rest of you. Right? Think twice about naked shorting, because this could be you. Mario Valdez, do you know what the cause was for the Volkswagen to squeeze? What did the price reach? Did 2008 housing crash have anything to do with it? A little bit, but most of it was Porsche bought a huge stake. Porsche bought hundreds of billions of dollars in Volkswagen. It was only like a 12% short position, but because it's a German stock, you can't naked short it. And the price went up because Porsche kept buying. The price kept going up because Porsche kept buying. The price kept going up. So Porsche ended up controlling a majority of the shares, like way of the float and then some. And all of a sudden, the Piper came a calling, and folks were getting margin called and liquidated and being forced to close. And the only thing that ended the squeeze, and the price got to what, $1,300 a share, somewhere around there, 1,300 euros, whatever you want to call it. And the only reason it ended was because the government went to Porsche and was like, my God, dude, please just sell some shares. Just sell some, please, end this thing. And Porsche went, all right, and sold some for a huge profit. And that was it. And so if we had a ban on naked shorting in this country, every single stock in the market would probably squeeze. Because they naked short everything here. You can't do that in Korea. You can't do that in Japan. You can't do that in Germany. You can't naked short stocks. And if you do, you're going to prison. The only way you go to prison here is if you naked short Bitcoin, which isn't even regulated. Like FTX, his trouble is coming from the fact that he sold Bitcoin that doesn't exist. That's what he's being arrested for. All the other fraud is attached to that. If he had just, like, played people's money and done other things with it, they wouldn't have arrested him. But it was the selling Bitcoin that doesn't exist that was the fraud. And for some reason, that's totally illegal with Bitcoin, which is an unregulated security, but totally legal with actual securities that are regulated. It makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. Oh, there's the reset of the chat. Why did that reset? Where was I? Okay. Stephen Lewis, Houston, happy birthday. I can't stay for long, but did you hear that shark fossils were found at Mammoth Cave National Park? National Park Service has an article from 2020, 2021. No. Shark fossils, Mammoth Cave. Boom. Boom. Okay, let's see here. Where are we? Okay, fossil paleontology. Mammoth Cave National Park, Kentucky. Well, it was an ancient seafloor. Mississippi age, 325 million years ago, ancient sea marine life preserved, Mammoth Cave National Park. That's cool. Okay, location National Park, made ongoing, 2019, paleo environment, The 225-million-year-old rich fossil limestones made of the cave system were formed during the late Paleozoic, during a time period known to geologists as the Mississippian period. The park staff reported a new fossil shark teeth exposed in the cave walls. Cool. Boom, 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 boom. More than 40 different species of shark fossils. Okay. Show what they look like. Show me what they look like. Oh, here we go. There's some. Shark fossils. Shark fossils. These are laid down in these sandstones here. The silt that would be the bottom of the ocean. You'll get the teeth and stuff because like so much of the rest of the shark is like ooey gooey cartilage. It doesn't preserve as well. Cool. I have a whole bunch of fern fossils from Pennsylvania that got a road cut that are, I think, Pennsylvanian in age. So there's Mississippian, Devonian, Pennsylvanian. Basically, like rock layers get named. Like, oh, I found this rock layer here. We'll name anything found at this layer this place from now on. So Mississippian was found in a layer of rock in Mississippi. Therefore, every layer of rock from that point forward to 325 million years ago all over the world is Mississippian in age. Except for the motherfucking Belt Supergroup has a different name in Canada. Whatever. Even though it's the same rock. That's cool. I like me some fossils. MS Houston, where is most of the world's wealth concentrated? Do you think big money sharks will feed on each other soon? Man, speaking of sharks, that's something to think about because there's the element of like the good old boy network, right? You got these dudes that all go to the World Economic Forum and they rub elbows and they make deals and whatever. But then you have some of those guys that just really hate each other's guts. They want to see that. I hate that guy. He once gave me a wedgie in the locker room at our prep school, and I want to make sure he suffers for the rest of his life. And so you do have folks who are constantly trying to battle each other in that world, as well as like strike deals somehow and make money off each other. It's going to be harder this time around for them to eat their own because of those laws passed in 2009 that made it illegal to short institutions because they had turned on each other. Those hedge funds started shorting the very banks who lent them money, which seems like a bad plan, right? I mean, I guess if you short the bank out of existence, there's no one left to owe money to. So that's one method. They will go for self-preservation over friendship when it comes down to it, right? Like if it's you or me, it's gonna be me. Fuck you. I don't care if you were part of my foursome at Augusta. Like I'm gonna take you down, buddy. And so there will be some of that. But I don't think the desperation has come to that point yet. It very well might. Especially with how many banks failed the stress tests this year. That was a lot of failures across all three of those categories. More right, monkey? I'll stretch it out, buddy. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Yeah, you're on camera, dude. Get up here. Come on. Get up. Enjoy your bed for once. You floor dog. You floor swine, you. Okay. Where was I? Fossils 1. Money sharks. ComputerShare reset their 2-factor authorization. Didn't even get a notice of this. What's going on? Backs are trying to infiltrate the system or just poor customer service? I mean, if you look at the programming behind ComputerShare, it was programmed like 1997, and I don't know if they've ever had anyone do anything to that system since. So my guess is like they are shoestring, and they just go, All right, we did it once. Come here, buddy. Come on, come up and snuggle. We did it once, and we don't ever need to like update anything ever again. Therefore, we don't have someone whose job it is to identify and notify people when we do actually change some minuscule thing. Oh, you're just a little dog. You squishy little face. In your squishy little face. Okay. J-Dog would have been awesome. Wait, what J-Dog were you asking about? That would have been awesome. Go Mariners, 20 days till home opener. Spring training, baby. It's happening. I've been looking. So local kid got drafted between first and second round. It was a compensatory pick by the Braves, J.R. Ritchie. He had a pretty good short spring in single A ball, and they moved him to double A almost immediately, where he did pretty well again. And I think he's been invited to spring training, but I can't find any news on him. The kid's got it. Like, they could have plucked him off the high school field last spring, had him pitch a major league game, and I would bet he would have a good chance of winning that game. Throwing 95 to 97 with just amazing movement, and he's not even done growing yet. So he was I would have thought he would have been a top 5 pick, but he went like 20th or something. I've been looking to see, is he gonna be at double A again this year? Is he gonna be moved up triple A? Where's JR gonna be? I want to know. But I'm excited for it all. Desmond Collins, Houston, have you heard about the date May 11th? Maybe the date trading resume. Your thoughts? I don't ascribe to any of those dates. We blow right past every single one of them and nothing happens. And that's probably what's going to happen on the 11th. I think the only thing that can make them trade is a court saying trade. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything that anyone's going to do willingly unless they're forced to. Dreamed I missed the BBBY talk. Yeah, it was just a brief little thing to get things started off the beginning of the show. Dream. There wasn't much to it. Just that. Whoa. Cat, you can't roll over if you're on top of the desk. You'll fall on the floor. That's sorry. She almost fell on the dog. He almost fell on the dog. That was funny. All right. But yeah, I was just sort of, speculating that Carl Icahn maybe making a play in there to turn it around and spin off baby. Okay. Molly McWoolhead, Africa might have devolved differently and had the West not been destroying it for several centuries as well. Well, yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, there were entire societies that were well established. I mean, the richest human being to ever live was a king in Mali, right? That's Africa. We're talking, an estimated wealth in just gold, $500 billion in gold. Just gold in today's dollars. The dude traveled with this giant caravan across, he went to go do a Hajj. He traveled this giant caravan across the Sahara Desert, basically broke the economy of Cairo when he showed up because he just gave gold bricks to people. Like, hey, here's a gold brick. And then made his way to Mecca and destroyed the economy there by just handing gold bricks to people. Here you go, have a gold brick. And then on his way back, destroyed all the economies all over again on his way back to Mali. So, I mean, the currencies existed, societies existed. There were stories in the journals of Portuguese sailors. So these Portuguese man-o'-wars would come around Africa, come around the Cape, and make their way to go get spices throughout Southeast Asia. And these ships were conquesting ships, and they're full of cannons and crap. And these people were sociopaths. These guys write in their journals about they're sailing along the shoreline of Mozambique. And they're talking about these massive cities on the shore of Mozambique, lighted streets and other stuff. And they're just let's just start firing cannons randomly into the city for the hell of it, for target practice. And they just blew these towns out of existence for no reason while they're passing by, just aimlessly, oh, well, that was fun. Anyway, let's continue our routes and our spice routes here. The carnage that was left behind by the slave trade, just ripping families apart, tearing, so much knowledge, wealth, infrastructure was destroyed by just ripping these people out of their communities. And so that when it came time to conquest Africa, when they started dividing up Africa in the 19th century, they're like, oh, look at these people, they got nothing. Well, it's because you tore them apart for 400 years before you came in. We're like, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna check and see if there's any gold back there. That's, I mean, just imagine your community right now, right? Somehow half the people just disappear. They get ripped out of their homes and they're gone forever. Moms, dads, kids, whatever, just gone, right? 90% of the homes get burned down and torched by some like angry Portuguese people. And then you're left with a whole bunch of diseases. Your animals are all slaughtered, so you're like trying to figure out how to like grow food and help people, and then neighboring tribes keep coming in and kicking your ass and taking stuff from you because they haven't been rampaged yet, so they haven't been completely slaughtered. And then like 200 years of people trying to figure out what they're doing, but they keep having like people just get yanked and pulled away and stuck on ships and sent away. And then all of a sudden, those people come and they're like, you know what? I think we're gonna stay this time because you're just a backwards simpleton who your village looks like shit, so I don't know what it is that you think you have going for you. So I'm going to give you all of my European ideals and systems and racism and all that crap. You just don't end up doing well if that's the case, right? I mean, it's like these villages in eastern Ukraine that get blown apart by shelling. If the Russians move in, like, see, this place is a shithole. Yeah, because you blew it up, dude. They can't take care of themselves. Their buildings are falling down. It's the way of it, man. It's the way of it. Ted Tremendous. Houston, what are your thoughts on Department of Energy stating Wuhan lab leak most likely cause of COVID-19 pandemic? Doesn't it help tensions from U.S. and China possible results? I have the feeling that the U.S. Energy Lab stated that simply because, as a big FU to China at the moment, because even if you read that document, their confidence is really low. Like if you read into it, they go, the confidence for this is pretty low. That's because the scientists who were able to get access to the data were able to show that almost the entire outbreak came from the wet market in Wuhan. So, you know, there was talk about a guy who worked at the lab who would take dead animals. He's supposed to like throw them into an incinerator and burn them. And instead, this is a rumor, so it's not verified. Instead, he would take the animals to the market and sell them for cash. And that might be a way the disease could be introduced. But it's looking more and more like it was probably a disease from a bat, if anything, because that's what you do. You go out and you like catch bats and you stick a swab in their butt and you pull it out and you stick it in a tube and you test it later to figure out what kind of diseases there are. A great documentary, which actually came out just before COVID, is called Contagion. No, not Contagion. Pandemic. Sorry, Pandemic. Contagion is the Matt Damon movie. Pandemic. It's a 5-part series on Netflix. And it's about the flu, basically, and what the next pandemic would look like and how we can stop it. And it profiles a few different people. There's a team in San Francisco Bay Area who are trying to create like a flu vaccine that can vaccinate against all varieties of flu. And they're making great headway. And then they stop their research and work on COVID stuff when that happened. There was another team in, I can't remember, it was like Lebanon or Egypt that was working on bats. And there was a group, the US aid guys, who their job is they're all over the world. And if they get rumors of someone getting a disease, like a passing from birds to humans, or if a flock has a particular disease, the US aid group goes, might be in Vietnam, might be in China, might be in Thailand, whatever. The US aid group goes and they go, hey, here your birds are all sick. Let's test them. If they're sick, we're going to cull the herd and we're going to pay you so you get new birds, right? Because we don't want to destroy your livelihood. Or if there's an outbreak from bats or whatever, they identify that stuff. And they go and they do these things. And so they follow these people for five steps along the way. And there's also a woman who's like in charge of pandemic response for the city of New York that's interviewed. She's a health expert. But it's all very like, the next pandemic is coming. And if we fuck this up, that's it. What's amazing is they followed, the US aid group was the one I was most fascinated with, which was the response to outbreaks. And they get there and they like shut down the villages. And they're like, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to make sure no one dies from this thing. If you're going to quarantine everybody, boom, we're good. And they end it in a matter of days, right? This quick response. And it's weird. This US aid group was all over the world, like every country you can imagine. They even had agreements to work with China on this stuff. October 2019, in order to save what $19 million of the budget to help pay for Trump tax cuts, Donald Trump closed the U.S. aid program 3 weeks before the first COVID case appeared. This group's job, they would have responded to that case, shut it down, and had everything contained within a couple of days had they still existed, even in a country like China, because we had a working agreement with them with our U.S. aid program. And we shut it down because we didn't want to spend $19 million stopping these diseases before there were outbreaks to save money that ended up costing the global economy $8.5 trillion. It's a we do that all the time. I mean, we didn't want to spend $30 million updating the levees around New Orleans, and then Katrina hit a few months later and caused $500 billion in damage. We didn't want to spend $25 million on modern brakes and warning systems on trains, and now we're going to be spending countless billions on East Palestine. Like, just be proactive for once, man. Right? Like the United States government, we created the League of Nations, and then the people wouldn't let us join the League of Nations because they're we'll be isolationists, and that led to World War II. Like, just be proactive for once, people. That's all I ask. Just please be proactive when they have a giant problem coming along. Think, oh, I might save like $40 now by not doing an oil change, and that'll be great. And then a year later, your engine blows up and you're up $10,000. Like, just be proactive, man. It's not that hard to just, take care of shit. But hey, those tax cuts, we now have runaway inflation and huge deficits as a result. So there's that happening. Good job. All right. Star Warrior also asking when the MMTLP stuff will be over. Not a clue, man. Not a clue. Oh, Larry's just stopping in real quick. Well, hi, Larry. Bye, Larry. Aaron Salentine Houston, can you explain the $10 coupon NFT from GNS? How does this cause short squeeze if shorts can't deliver it? Ow, 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 ow. You little fart. The kid, he's playing. Yeah, boop. So it's a coupon, NFT coupon. So you get this digital coupon that itself is worth $10 in goods or services from GNS, right? And if you can't provide it, you're going to have to go out and buy that coupon. Just like the T0 thing from Overstock. You're going to have to buy it on the market to make good because you owe anyone that you're short on that $10 coupon. So, and if you can't pay the coupon, you're going to have to close out the share, right? We're going to close out both. And you're like, okay, well, you know what? We're going to force you to close both these things. So buy me a share and buy me the coupon. And that's what causes the price to go up. I think it has potential to be bigger than Overstock if that's the case, because at the time, there wasn't 10 million apes who were totally aware of what's going on. Like, Overstock happened before everyone was paying attention to heavily shorted stocks. It was sort of like the proto stock that everyone, oh, wait a minute, you can actually squeeze these things? Interesting. And that was summer 2020, right? That was before GME was a thing. Had Overstock happened after GME, I think it would have been a much bigger story. But it was the precursor. It was the foreshock to that earthquake. So I think it's a pretty smart idea from GNS to do. Why not? Why not every single one of these companies? Why don't they just do something to screw with the shorts? Every one of them. Just screw them over, whatever. Really? What do you have to say for yourself? Yeah? Okay. I just lost my place again. It keeps resetting on me. It's absolutely... Okay, there's two-factor authentication one. there's the energy department one. NFT. Oh, there we go. Okay, Nathan Scott. Good evening, Houston. I'm a traveling ultrasound tech and just recently moved to Sultan, Washington to work in Everett. What's the number one thing I should do in town? Really? If you're in Everett, you're kind of doing it. I mean, Stevens Pass is right up the road. Go up Highway 2, go skiing at Stevens. Awesome skiing. Fairly inexpensive for the Northwest. I mean, I don't know how long you're in town, but Mariners games, Mount Rainier, art museums. What do you want, kitty? What are you trying? What are you trying to do here? Waterfront, ferry boats, go sailing, hike a lot. Do the Cascade Mountain Loop Highway. If you got a car that can do 4-wheel drive, that's beautiful in the summer, not now. Go river rafting. Climb some cliffs. Eat some sushi and teriyaki while you're here. Is that a good list? I'm sure you'll find more. Join like groups. Join like a hash runners group or a mountain climbing group or I don't know, kickball or something. Weird people who do cool things always join that stuff and you'll meet lots of cool people. Oh, is that making you happy, cat? Are you a happy cat because you're getting head bopped back and forth? Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Yes. Okay. DVS Houston, Australia has doubled the tax on Australians with more than $3 million in their 401k. Really? That the whole idea is to make sure people put money into things like 401ks and IRAs so that they wouldn't get taxed that much, so they actually have something for savings, and it wouldn't be a burden on a cat moved the thing again. It wouldn't be a burden on everybody else. That's what I thought. Anyway. Oh yeah, you gonna murder me again? You gonna murder me again? Ow. Yeah, ow, 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 fuck you. Ow. Putting holes in me, cat. Okay. I kind of defeats the purpose, right? Save in this tax savings account. And we're going to tax you in it now because we need some money. But you're not going to have enough money to retire, so you're going to be a burden on society, which means you're going to tax people some more. These are the proactive things that really don't make any sense. Tax the super rich people. I mean, granted, you got $3 million in your account. You're doing pretty well. But it's $3 million Australian dollars, so that's like funny money. All the Australians are like, oi. But you know, it's the folks who are worth like $1 billion that need to be taxed at a crazy amount. I was just discussing this the other day with my dad, and you know, we talk about, oh, this guy is worth $200 billion. Maybe we should raise some taxes. The billionaire's like, but I haven't, it's unrealized gains. I've not sold my stock, so therefore I've not realized any gains, and you shouldn't be able to tax me because of that. Okay. But if I buy a home, right? I buy that home for $500,000. And the next year, the county assessor comes along and says it's worth $600,000. I get taxed on a $600,000 home, and I have realized no gains whatsoever. So why is it okay to tax regular human beings on unrealized gains on things like homes, but it's not okay to tax the wealthiest human beings on earth for their unrealized gains on stocks? Right? So perhaps we should just have one hell of a sales tax or capital gains tax when you sell your home, and then not worry about having the assessed value of the home go up every year, the taxes. Like, I'm okay with, I buy a home at $500,000 and I get taxed at the $500,000 assessment until I sell the home. And whatever the new price is for that home, that person then pays the sales tax, or the property tax on that. A lot of people get priced out of their homes due to inflation. I think about this little old lady when I was a kid. So my family lived in a house. We weren't on the water. We were like, there was like a street, a giant forest, and then the water, and all these big rich people had homes along the water. except for this little old lady. She had a quaint little house on a decent sized piece of land, but it's on the water. Her husband had like felled the trees and built the house by hand in 1922. And here we are 70 something years later, and she's paying like, I don't know, $14,000 a year in taxes on this property on Social Security. And she's like, I can't pay for this. I'm gonna have to move. That type of thing, like, if she sells the house for $2 million, yeah, tax the shit out of that $2 million. I don't care. Collect the money then. I just don't get, like, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to retire here. I have no plans of moving. And then the neighborhood around you becomes worth millions of dollars, and the home you bought for pennies is now worth millions of dollars. It's insane. Tax rich people. Bear, naked shorting is legal in the US for liquidity purposes. Exactly. If you want liquidity, the best way to get liquidity is not make fake shares available. It's to pay the price people are willing to part with their shares. That's how you get liquidity. So if a stock is illiquid, you either have to entice the company to issue more shares by like, hey company, we'll pay you $1 gajillion for more shares. And they go, okay. Or entice the holders of those shares to part with their shares for a lot of money. It isn't, let's just print fake shares. That's not the solution to liquidity. That's the solution to destroying your entire economy. I mean, how many times has there been a company with like a promising cancer vaccine or drug that gets shorted out of existence and then they can't produce their product? All the time. We read about it every year. Like, oh, this company's got a thing, and they did some lab tests, and it shows it like shrinks the cancer 99% of the time. And then all of a sudden, all these short hedge funds start shorting the hell out of the company, and then they can't survive, and they can't ever make their drug at scale, and then disappear forever. It's absolutely crazy. It happens all the time. And I just hate the hedge funds so much. They're just such shitty human beings. And they offer nothing. They offer nothing of value to society as a whole. Not a damned thing. Because they're, even if they're like angel investors into some company, they still seem to go out of their way to destroy that company because they can make more money destroying it than they can from the like quicker than they can from like waiting a couple of years for this company to blossom into something new. They're just a bunch of shitty bros, and life would be so much better if we didn't have them around. Don says you shade him. Oh, he's talking about the band making shorting. Like, wink. Oh, we doing a lot of that. Oh. Ted Tremendous, Houston, will the Supreme Court rule against Biden's student loan relief? Biden thinks they will win, but I'm not so sure. The makeup of the court would suggest that the Biden administration will never win anything ever again. Roberts could go either way on something like this, but I don't know if it's enough. If you can get Alito or Kavanaugh or anyone else to like go that way, those guys are such shitty dudes. I can't imagine they wouldn't like. I got mine. Screw you. I went to school in the 70s. It didn't cost me that much money. And then they don't care. I mean, if they do rule against it, I would say that it would mean laws don't mean anything. Because Congress passed the law allowing the president the ability to cancel loans. And so if Congress passes the law to allow the president to do that, then any law Congress passes doesn't count. That's right, Kat. That's exactly right. Come on, you dummy. They're just like doing circles by my feet right now. You want to go out? Is that what you want? You want to go out here? You want to go adventure? Okay, get the hell out of here. There you go. That's what you really wanted. You wanted to leave, monkey. Get up, monkey. Get up there. Get up in your bed. Be a dog. Do your best, Emperor Palpatine. There we go. Yes. Use that hate. Feel it build inside of you. Join the dark side. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Where was I? Australian. Tremendous. People are still blown away hearing the Fed rate hikes. My banker struggles to say 10% as is for rates. It's going to get worse this year with more rate hikes still. Why is the Fed gaslighting Americans? Because they're trying for a soft landing. That's why. Because they don't want to be like, it's going to be 10, 12% by the end of the year. Because they said that, the whole market goes immediately. Instead, they're like, oh, we don't know. Maybe half. And then they raise it a quarter. Everyone goes, phew. The market takes off some more, making things worse. What they should do, they should just make a full point raise. Like, it'll be a half. And they do a full point raise. And then everyone freaks out. Market collapses. Everyone gets liquidated. And we just start all over again. Because it's better to crash it now than it is to crash it 6 months from now. Better to crash it a year from now. Better to crash 2 years from now. Because the crash is just going to be so much worse when it happens. We won't be prepared for it. And what we need to do is shore up everything, be prepared for it, crash it, and then respond. But the way it is now with the whole, the rumor is they're going to raise it, 50 basis points, and they only raise it 25 basis points. And then the market rallies. And that just puts us deeper in the hole again. We need some reality stuck in the market to get people to realize, oh, all of this is valueless because it's all overvalued. And the SPY should be at 250. And we should be licking our wounds, figuring out how to make society better. Doug Kurtz, you see Cat is selling graphene batteries. When should we expect large batteries? Soon. I would suspect the next thing we'll start to see graphene batteries in, it would be in the next generation of Samsung or Apple phones or something. When you start to see them in those phones, and they start saying, you need to charge this phone once a month or whatever, that's going to be huge news. You can plug your phone in at work and it'll charge in 5 minutes and then last for 25 days. That's going to be the really big news. And the quality of the battery won't decay over time because they can take so many, thousands of times more charges. Then we'll probably start to see battery packs made for larger things, for, riding lawn mowers and the little cars that get around town and stuff. And they'll make bigger and bigger ones once manufacturing gets ramped up. But the tooling needed to make graphene batteries is really, really delicate and specialized. And that's going to be the hardest part, is that leap into scale that's going to be needed. So they can do little guys right now. And in a few years, when the companies that make the tooling get a little more on top of it, we'll start to see a lot more graphene production. So soon. It's coming soon. And when it happens, short everything lithium. Everything. Lithium will no longer be needed for anything except for people who, need to take lithium pills. Everyone else, lithium batteries. I mean, if you're at this point, if you bought a Tesla or a Nissan Leaf or whatever now, and then 5 years from now you expect your batteries to be dead, I would expect in that 5-year period there'll be a plug and play option to put a graphene battery kit, into that car in 5 years. And then you may never need a new battery kit for the lifetime of that car, unless you wreck it or whatever. So I think that's the future. The whole idea behind GMG is they want plug and play. They want to be able to remove, the battery from the back of your cell phone, put a new graphene one in there, and it's got the same capabilities. You just maybe update the software a little bit. There's a different battery in there, and it just goes from there. Judge Mendes Houston, seems like Ukraine funding gets all the press versus local state government works. Is it lazy journalism or true? I mean, they are getting a lot of funding, but for a fraction of the price of like putting U.S. troops on the ground ourselves or whatever, we have basically destroyed the Russian economy and their military with like, our spare parts from the 70s and 80s. So I think that's a big deal. I think that that's probably the best cost benefit analysis we've ever had as a government is giving money to Ukraine to just absolutely lay waste to everything that Russia has. I mean, they're down to like tanks from the 60s. They're rethinking their entire battle groups right now because they don't have enough tanks to support their troops. The problem was they didn't have enough troops to support their tanks before. So it's chicken and egg thing. They're begging for munitions from North Korea, for weaponry from China. China is like weighing whether they're going to send weaponry. I personally think China probably won't send weaponry to Russia because I don't think China can take the PR of their machines getting destroyed by 1980s US tech, because that same tech Taiwan has, and Taiwan has some of the modern stuff too. And if they're getting eviscerated by a bunch of baristas with javelins, then all their saber rattling that's happening with Taiwan, everyone will go, who gives a shit, right? Like, the 4 largest air forces in the world, 3 of them belong to the U.S. government: the Air Force, the Navy Air Force, and the Army Air Wing. Like, those are the 3 largest of the 4 biggest air forces in the entire world. And we're talking like, and you add them all up, and it's more than every other military on Earth put together. So, we've got 13,000 fixed-wing aircraft in the U.S., and those fixed-wing aircraft aren't like Russia's fixed-wing aircraft, where half of them are being cannibalized for parts on runways. There's a huge, huge, huge infrastructure put into place to use and maintain like every single one of those things. There's a reason why we don't have national health care in this country. And all you have to do is look at one aircraft carrier to figure out why. It's absolutely incredible what capabilities the U.S. government has when it really wants to. We've not done any excessive use of force, show of force, since the first Gulf War. There's a really crazy video. What is it? Yeah, Air War, Desert Storm. So, okay, one sec. I'll put the link in here. Watch it later. Bam, bam. Skip ad. So, this guy here, the operations room, they did this animation showing basically how the war worked. How all these forces the U.S. government had from all over the place, and it is absolutely crazy just how many jets they had flying around. I mean, the number of jets doing one operation on one base in Iraq in the first Gulf War is more than Russia has sent in the air in the entire war. Absolute domination of the skies by this group, and none of these were Gen 5 fighters. Like, there's some F-117s that went in there, and no one could see, but so many of the fighter jets that went out there were 70s and 80s tech stuff that was conceived in the 60s and weren't built until the 70s, right? And just the number of jets, just an insane number of jets flying around. Absolutely, like, the full 21 minutes of this thing is just mind-boggling to see. And they had B-52 bombers taking off from Missouri, flying all the way over, doing the bombing runs, and coming back and having dinner with their wives. Just nuts. And it became a modern thing with the B-2 bombers flying from there, doing 35-hour missions, and then being back home to like watch their kids' basketball game. Just crazy how like the show of force that the Powell Doctrine had. And we kind of ignored that with the subsequent wars. We're like, oh, we don't want to show everyone. We want to show them we can like beat them with our hand behind our back. And we got mired in a long-term war, which, whatever. And now the cat wants back in. Now you want back in, dummy? Oh, yeah, you do? Okay. Come on, get in here. But I recommend it. I recommend it's a good watch. Okay. Okay, that Graphene Batteries one. Ukraine one. How about a shout out to old Monkey Butt Snack Time? It's 8 o'clock. We can do a snack time. She's cozy under her blanket right now, but I guarantee you she hears the crinkle crinkle, and that changes, right? Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that changes, doesn't it? Okay, they come and get it. They come and get it. They come get it. Oh, there it is, y'all. Monkey Butt Snack Time. Okay, you got that one. Want to do this one? Want to get it? You come get it again? Come get it again. There you go. All right, happy dog, happy life. Okay, get there. Come on, that's it. That's it. That's all we got for you. We have no more. There's no more. You get everything you deserve. But she's awake now. She's like totally. Oh. Okay. Don Caesar Shadem, I've had a ComputerShare account since 2003. I still get paper quarterly reports. There you go. Right? Probably from a dot matrix printer or handwritten or something. I don't know. What was elementary school? Our copy machine at the school was this crazy blue ink like lithograph thing, and I did not see like once we got out of the 80s they had like normal Xerox machines. What were those things called? I can't remember, but that's why I picture them like making their copies on just on wood blocks and set type or something. They're on a Gutenberg press is what they're on. Where'd that go? Someone's asking about call options, something or other, and I did not. Okay, not there, not there. Oh, Jeffrey Robertson. Is it a strategy to place call options before the split? I'm always sketched out with doing options when there's a split because if you buy an option, right, it's for 100 shares at a set price. Now become 10 shares at 10 times that price, and weird things happen. So I just kind of stay away from options when that's the case. It's just seems weird to me. I've gotten burned a couple of times doing it, especially with Spurt/Gree. Man, that sucked. Then I just avoid options around time. Anytime someone's going to do a split or a reverse split. Dustin Wright, is there anything Rosa can file to force this judge to make a decision in my lifetime? She can't file anything else until the judge makes a decision. So she's stuck. All the filing that could happen for this ruling has been made, and so we're just waiting for the judge's prerogative on this at this case, at this point. Ted Tremendous, Houston. Post office in my city cut hours, limited staff, and delays. Long lines too. Same report in St. Louis and other big cities. What's happening? Will they get out of this? I don't understand why the Biden administration hasn't gotten rid of what's his butt, postmaster dude, the loser. What's his name? Mikey DeJoy. Like, there's some sort of rule that like you can't fire the postmaster without getting rid of everybody who's on the commission. So then fire the commission, and then get rid of the postmaster, and then do the commission again. Because DeJoy is a monster. All of his money is in like FedEx and UPS and DHL and everything. He's invested in these like competitors to the post office, and he is doing exactly what short sellers do. He's an insider, destroying the company from the inside to help the competition, and he needs to go. Just absolutely needs to go. Destroyed $1 billion in processing machines for no other reason other than to slow down the sorting of mail. I mean, I had a subscription to Road and Track magazine, right? Just a car magazine, a 1-year subscription. I got 4 of them in that year. That's it. Just 4 copies of the magazine in a whole year because the mail was so screwed up that they just never arrived. So, you know, cool. Thanks for that. Like, the post office is so important that it was the only thing with teeth in the Articles of Confederation. That's how important the post office is. Articles of Confederation was the first founding document or organizing document for the U.S. government. Was worthless except for creating a post office. That's it. Everything else was toothless and awful about it. And everyone went, oh man, that document sucked. Let's have a constitutional convention and rewrite this whole damn thing. Much better. They kept the post office in there. But there's been a movement to destroy the post office for the last 15 years. And it's working. I mean, they passed that dumb law where they've got to fully fund the pension plans 75 years out. Meaning, there are like people who aren't even born yet, right? Not even born yet, who will retire from the post office whose pension is currently funded right now. That's not a great way to keep a company functioning. Like, you are draining so much capital from the post office by doing that. It's silly. Like, more power to that, zygote that 75 years from now will be retiring from the post office. But as for there being a post office 75 years from now, probably not. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Michael McMinician. Fidelity pushed off the 1099 again. Interesting. It now says 3/4/23. The letter I got from them was like it was going to be the 15th. So mine's already pushed off. I mean, I hope I get it before taxes are due. Like, will I get it before April 15th? That's what I'm wondering. I doubt it, but that's what I'm wondering. And why on earth is it taking so long? I don't get that. Molly McWoolhead is hoping to get rich from MMTLP by now, so it looks like I'm going to start working again. Sigh. I know, man. I want my beach. I want my beach. Ugh. And my perpetual ski vacations. That's what I want. Ted Tremendous. Hey, Houston. E.T. was the scariest movie for me as a kid. What was the scariest movie as a kid and scariest movie as an adult? Movies don't really scare me. Never been like, oh, scary movie, oh no. Like, I watch slasher films, I watch suspense thrillers, I watch ghost movies, and none of them ever really scare me. I mean, the one movie that gave me the willies, because just in general, creepy crawlies give me the willies, was Arachnophobia. But I wouldn't say I was scared. It was more like than anything else. But no, like, because scary movies have never really scared me, I've never really been a giant fan of them. Like, I love a splatter film, like, Evil Dead style, like kind of over the top splatter movie. But yeah, I just don't. I don't know, like, some of the serial killer movies, it's kind of interesting to see, like, oh, how are they doing the Saw movies or whatever. But they really, I don't know, horror just never scared me. It always just seemed so improbable and fake. Especially when it was like mystical ghost things. It was like, they've been dead the whole time. And then you find out, oh, they've been dead the whole time. And half of them. I dated a girl that absolutely loved, like, every January, a bunch of crappy PG-13 horror movies get released in the theaters. Just garbage that could never be released any other time of the year because no one would watch them. So they just dump them in January, take a huge loss for the year on them, and cool. Like White Noise or whatever. And she had like the largest DVD collection of PG-13 January release horror films I've ever seen in my entire life. And she loved watching them. And I'd never seen these movies because why would I go see a 1-star movie in January? And the first 5 minutes, I would like, oh, that thing, that they've been dead the entire time. She's like, have you seen this before? I'm like, no, it's just the plot of every one of these movies. None of them are original. So I don't know. Maybe there's one out there that will really give me the heebie-jeebies, but it hasn't happened yet. But arachnophobia definitely gave me the willies. That's for sure. Just, yeah. Lost on an island, Dustin, right in the federal courts. There is no requirement the judge issues any opinion with in opinion within any time frame. Lost on an island would know. He's dealt with the federal courts many times in his work. So, yeah, it can be who knows when. It's time sensitive. And he's like, cool. I retire soon, and I'm not going to do anything. That's just the way it is. Curious Investor, honestly, I just popped in myself. I didn't get a notification. I'll be honest, the Curious Investor, I just read that as I pooped myself. I was like, oh, cool. It doesn't just happen to me. But hello, welcome. Yeah, the whole notification thing, every single time I go visit my mother, she's like, I didn't get a notification that you were having a show. I'm like, I have no power over whether you get notifications or not. But I have started getting notifications to channels I am not subscribed to. Hey, this Swashbuckler channel is going on now. I'm like, I don't know who that is or why I would care. I got one the other day for like nutrition for men. I'm like, I've never once watched a nutrition for men video or any video anywhere in the algorithm because I do not care. I'm not a nutrition freak in any way, shape, or form. I don't care. Why are you sending this to me? I don't know. Is someone using my YouTube account and just like clicking the little bell on a bunch of channels that I would never watch? Honestly, I don't know. But here we are. I get notifications for things that I don't watch. I never get notifications for things I do watch. FTWNF. Hey, Houston, you're awfully quiet about AMC going up 25% today and GME going down again. Are you finalizing, realizing RC is pretty worthless, and so is GME, and maybe Adam Aaron is making better moves? I mean, I don't think he's making better moves, but more power to him. I mean, I do want the price to go up as much as possible because I want to be able to sell my shares that I have for as much as possible. But I think it's more FOMO than anything else happening right now. I mean, why would you buy any AMC when you can just buy the APE for much cheaper and have it be worth what the AMC is? That's what I don't get. Tremendous. Houston economists now think recession will be delayed to April, June, as per the AP. Is it possible it just doesn't happen? And we are in a new roaring 20s. No, I mean, everyone's so over leveraged that folks are just going to stop paying on stuff. And the minute they stop paying on stuff, it works its way all the way up the ladder. You know, they stop paying on the car gets repoed. The car goes to get sold, the car can't get sold because no one can get a loan because the banks don't have any money to lend because no one's paying to borrow, right? And if the car can't sell, that means there's gonna be too many, and the houses can't sell, and the prices in the houses go down. Prices in the houses go down. People go, you know what? I'm underwater on this mortgage. Why am I paying a mortgage on a house that's worth less than what I bought it for? So they stop paying their mortgages, and the banks stop getting that money in, and then the banks can't. Then the banks go under, and the banks go under. Then they've got to like liquidate everyone else they lent to get cash out of them, and it's just it's being held together with like gum and toothpicks right now. So what we're waiting for is a stiff wind, man. One stiff wind, and once one of those guys goes down, we are in like dominoes land. All the way down. Mimeograph. Thank you, online entity. Mimeograph. That's the one. Yes. Mimeograph. Don's going to bed. Have a good night, Don. Have a good one out there on the East Coast. Thomas Dubois says in advance, congratulations on your win, Rosa. As good a prediction as any. Alanity, Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn was creepy, but I don't know if it really scared me. Because just kids can be creepy in general because that's just, you know, they just be creepy little kids. Especially like little platinum blonde kids. Creepy as heck, man. The movie 1408 is a crazy thriller. I have never heard of that movie. Drew, as you go on to the next rich finding, can you explain what it means? That they found oil. That's what the filing means that got sent out to everybody today. Basically said, hey, we finished our drilling. Did our drilling for the year. We found 5 new locations, new levels of oil that could be extracted. And they're basically saying, like, we're worth some money, ding-dongs. So pony up. We've got oil everywhere. At shallower depths, they're easier to get to. They can fund all sorts of things. So that's what they're saying. You wants me subscribing to all of YouTube's nonsensical channels. Papashak 1. How do you think AMC options will be handled after reverse split, particularly AMC 1? Are either worth holding after split? Again, like the way the options will work, like if you have options now, it's a contract for 100 shares at a set price, right? It's going to become a contract for 10 shares at 10 times the price. So if you have an option for $8 for 100 shares, it's going to become 10 shares at $80. So the stock price is going to have to $80 for it to trigger your option. That's the way it'll be. The AMC 1 will go back. It'll be a contract probably with 20 shares in it, be my guess. Right? So the AMC 1, it's the AMC shares that were sold prior to the split off of APE, the issuance of APE. So the AMC 1 became AMC shares and APE shares added together, that price. So my guess is if they're going to be combining, you're going to have 200 AMC shares in there because you got 100 APE, 100 AMC, and I have 200 AMC. And then they're going to do the reverse split, which will become 20 shares at probably 10 times the price. That'd be my guess. Anyone check me on that? But if I were writing these convoluted rules, I'd probably do that for AMC 1. 20 shares at 10 times the price. And then regular options will be 10 shares at 10 times the price. To Tremendous Houston, do you have any thoughts on personality tests or assessments like Gallup Strengths Finder for employee tests and skills? What are your pros and cons? The multimodal personality tests, the ones people like, they're I'm ETNF or whatever. That's all a bunch of like astrology hooey. There's no science behind it. It was written by some ladies in like the 1930s who sort of just made their own categories and made it up as they go along. And there's never really been any research behind the actual personality tests themselves. I don't know anything about the Gallup Strengths Finder. I personally believe if you're going to hire someone, you hire someone who feels like they're going to kick ass. That's what you do. And if you got 80 million applicants for a job, well, you find the resumes that seem to fit the job, and then you interview the people and find out which one's going to kick ass. I think that's the best possible way to go about it. That or nepotism. Because people are like, well, I could pick from those 500 people, but I know that guy. And that guy, he's not going to disappoint me because he's a known quantity. And that seems to be one of the ways that makes the world go around. I'll have to read about the Gallup Strengths Finder or employee test on skills. I mean, it's as accurate probably as the ASVAB test in the military. You guys ever did the ASVAB at all? I mean, the ASVAB, number one, the ASVAB is testing to see if you can read. That's the number one test of the ASVAB. Can you read? Because there'll be questions like, pick the hammer, right? If you can't read, you don't know what the question is. You just know there's 4 pictures. One's a saw, one's a screwdriver, one's a hammer, and one's, I don't know, a clamp or something. And they want you to pick the hammer. Just verify that you can read. Done. If you can read, fantastic. We can make you do anything we want you to do, right? The next steps on the ASVAB test is figuring out, like, are you mathematically oriented? Are you word oriented? Are you going to be a file clerk, a cook? Am I going to send you to the nuclear power school in Charleston and make you become an engineer against your will? Like, those are a lot of the qualifications there. I mean, I do concede that there are personality types. There are people who can categorize into various personalities. I just don't know if, like, the multimodal personality test that everyone does online is accurate enough to categorize those people, since there's not, like, psychologists behind that. The one I would trust out of all those is the most painstaking one, and that is the Minnesota multimodal personality test. The Minnesota one is the one, like, you're on death row, or you're gonna be, like, facing death row, and your lawyer's like, innocence due to insanity. They're gonna have you do like 10 days of testing on that thing, and they throw in all sorts of weird, goofy questions. You don't even know what it means. It'd be like, the flim flam man passes around sponges. Are you gonna take a sponge from him or not? What? What does that even mean? And they're crazy. 2 people I know had to do it in their divorce because the husband was accusing the wife of lying about him abusing her. And so the court was like, you know what? I'm going to make you both take this Minnesota test. And 10 days of testing. We're talking hours a day with psychologists going through this thing. He came back abusive psychopath. She came back PTSD abuse victim. So the judge was like, okay, all right, you're lying to me right now. So you're going to pay for this woman's life for the rest of her life. And that's that. And they're incredibly hard to fake. Like, they put questions in there that sociopaths are like, if I answer this way, they'll think I'm not a sociopath. But there are questions set up exactly so that the sociopaths identify themselves. So they go, like, oh, only a sociopath would think that way, and answer the question that way. They're really, really tricky how it's done. I'm very curious. Like, I would love to learn the process of how they set that test up, but it's very accurate. 24th, the money. GME 75% short volume today. Stop the madness. The dark pools just need to end. End dark pools. No more. No mas. No mas dark pools. No more. Let us see what the price is at all times. Homer's Ghosts. Salutations, Mr. Rock God. Do you think the U.S. will ever adapt a high-speed rail into the commuter infrastructure? Bing bong. I personally think there should be rail everywhere. When I was in my undergraduate, I wonder if I can find the video file for this anymore. It was pre-YouTube when I made the video file. So there's a company in Washington. We haven't done any Google Earth yet today, so let's bring up the maps. Google Earth. Bam. Where are we? We're in Nevada at that big giant installation. Okay. So there's a company called LevX that does magnetic levitation trains in Port Angeles, and mostly they've, like, mining operations have used them. And they were getting this huge amount of grant money to build a test track. And so when I was doing my planning certificate for my geography degree in college, I had basically planned out a rail line for this thing that would essentially take from the ferry terminal here on Bainbridge. So the ferry terminal would go across to Seattle here, and it would be a train that would go up off the island, through the Paulsville area, down through the Silverdale area, through the Bremerton area, through the Port Orchard area, all the way down through Harbor to Tacoma. It would link up with the light rail system that's connecting Tacoma to Seattle. This would be an experimental maglev train. The price at the time was like 35 million a mile, which is actually cheaper than highway, and would connect all these communities and all these ferry terminals, and would be a great way to move people back and forth for cheap. And the state government and the federal government were just like hemming and hawing. Oh no, I don't know, I don't know. And then finally, this riverboat casino in like Biloxi, Mississippi, was like, "We'll do it. We'll fund that." And so they're building the maglev train down there. It's not going to connect the riverboat casino to the mainland. It's only going to be a really short rail line. But you go to other countries that have, not even have lighter population density, and you will have trains going to every single solitary teeny tiny little town and all the mountains and all the areas. Go to Switzerland and you've got, mountain valleys like this. You would have trains winding through every single solitary valley, connecting these tiny little towns to each other. And here we don't. We've got a major train that cuts across through up here, but it's like the train that goes from here to New York. We don't have any good rail infrastructure. We got most of our streetcars were destroyed. Our subway lines were destroyed by General Motors and Firestone back when they were, well, frankly, destroying all those things. But we need it. I mean, you go to a place, we talked about this the other day, I think, on the show. There's 8 million people a year go between Atlanta and Orlando, right? It's 400 miles, something like that. Atlanta, come on, click. Atlanta to Orlando, 399. So yeah, 400 miles to Atlanta to there. So on high-speed rail, 2.5 hours, right? It's pretty flat from there to there. Not going to be too crazy to make a train line that can do that real fast. Everyone get to, Universal City and whatever. In the amount of time it takes you to go through like check-in and airport security, you can go from Atlanta to Orlando. Like just checking in, checking your bags, checking in, going through security, doing your make sure you get there 2 hours ahead of time thing. That amount of time you could be on a train and be in Orlando. Southwest, there was a proposal to do high-speed rail connecting basically Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. So sort of this little triangle shape that we'd have. And Southwest Airlines, who does lots of service between those cities, said, "We will never fly a plane into Texas again if you do this." Okay, well, fuck you, Southwest. Don't. Right? Airlines still exist in Europe. There are still airlines in Europe, and there's trains everywhere. One does not necessarily destroy the other. But the amount of travel between Dallas and Houston is probably huge. How far is that one? That's got to be 300 miles or so, right? Move them away. Okay. Going Dallas to Houston, 220 miles. So, high-speed rail, that's an hour and 15 minutes by train. Can you imagine an hour and 15 minutes, Dallas to Houston? There's fucking terrible traffic that happens in both those cities because neither of them are ever designed properly. We could use it. It would boost our economy so much to be able to freely travel the country with ease and not have to use a car. It's so easy. I mean, you can spend, I don't know, $100 on gas there and back to get from Dallas to Houston. Cool. Or you can spend $50 on a train ticket, get to Houston, rent a car for $12 a day, do your business there, drop off the car, head home. Seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't understand why we don't like the way the rail system set up, passenger rail system set up. You can't go from Detroit to Cleveland, or even Detroit to Toledo on passenger rail. You have to go from Detroit to Chicago, Chicago to Toledo. That's dumb. Prior to Firestone and GM destroying the rail lines, you could actually take streetcars from New York City all the way to Chicago. Just municipal streetcars, like the little trolleys on the street. you could make your way across the whole of Pennsylvania, the whole of Ohio, the whole of Indiana, all the way to Chicago on nothing but streetcars prior to the 1935. That's crazy. We used to move a whole bunch of mail and stuff that way. Absolutely nuts. I just recently read this Twitter thread from a lady in Britain. So during COVID and Brexit and the fact that, no one can afford to do anything in England anymore because Brexit's made them so poor, they made all buses across the whole of the country £2. And so this chick decided she was going to go from London all the way to Scotland on nothing but these local buses at £2 a piece and work her way all across, and sort of tweeted about it. It was adorable and it was funny, but like, she had such a good time meeting all these people and visiting all these tiny little towns, going from bus to bus and staying in like little inns and stuff along the way. It was just like such a wonderful way to travel. And if for her, the journey was the entire point. Like, her goal was like, I need to be in Edinburgh by tomorrow for a business meeting. She's just like, I just want to see all these little towns along the way and have a good time doing it. And I don't know, like if you're into travel, which most Americans think they are, but really they just want to get from here to Epcot. I don't know. It might change the programming of our brains a little bit if we had an easy way to hop on a train and be able to get to like anywhere in the country, at least any major city in the country. Like we should have an easy rail system that connects at least the top 200 cities in America by rail. So that I could be able to hop on a train here in Seattle and without too many changes end up in St. Louis, right? Should be able to take a train to like Minneapolis, St. Louis, done, right? 2 changes along the way. And even then, you should have local rail around every metropolitan area in America. But we spend more money on, that's why we have F-35s and F-22s and all that stuff, because we don't do that. Bear ZipRecruiter says 75% of resumes go through AI. Last night's John Oliver was talking about that, and did their episode on AI, and he was talking about how there's problems. Like the AI learns, like machine learns, so they've got this black box problem of you gave the parameters, and then the machine teaches itself on experience, and out comes an outcome. And one of the things they discovered was the AI algorithm started giving preference to guys named Jared who played lacrosse. So that like all the AI wanted to do is like hire this guy Jared. He's a winner, because I guess one Jared had a really kick-ass resume, and it just assumed like, oh, every resume it's like this Jared. If it says Jared and they played lacrosse, they are going to get moved on to the next round. Everyone else, screw you. So like, there can be some bias that comes in there, and the person who writes the algorithm, they're one type of person. They see the world one particular way. They may not see things as a whole. And the other great thing they pointed out was like driverless cars, the full self-driving tech. Like they can see a white guy just fine, but they don't recognize somebody with brown skin as a human being, and they just plow right through them because they never tested the car on people with dark skin. When Siri first came out, right? You could talk to Siri on your phone. Hey Siri, what's the weather going to be like? Siri had no ability to understand any of the British accents. It couldn't understand Scottish. It couldn't understand English. It couldn't understand Irish. It couldn't understand Welsh. Like any of those accents did not compute. You are not a language Siri could understand. So, yeah, the malignant tumors one was funny. So they showed a bunch of like normal skin, healthy skin, and a bunch of skin that has tumors, and they wanted the AI to learn to pick tumors. And what the AI learned was whenever there's a ruler in the image, it's a tumor, because they take the ruler. Here we go. They take the ruler and they set it next to like the mole, and it shows how big the mole is. And so it's like, oh, any image that has a ruler is obviously a malignant tumor. So, how the AI happens to come about these things, it's kind of, it's a little bit how Sherlock Holmes might solve a murder mystery, right? Like, obviously there's a ruler, therefore it's malignant. But it's not necessarily what a normal doctor would do to make that decision. Malignant rulers, yeah. Reminds me of that old during the Second World War. They're trying to figure out where to arm planes. Yeah, survivor bias. This thing. So take off the Google Earth here. So these planes are coming back. They're like, well, where should we put more armor on these planes because we're losing too many of them? And looked at like where the bullet holes were. And like, oh, obviously we need to shore up here, 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 and here because that's where. Whoops. Come on, come back. You need to shore up here, 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 here because that's where if they're getting hit all the time. And then someone points out like, no, that's where the surviving planes are hit and they make it back. It's the planes that are hit here, 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 and here don't come back. So we need to shore up this stuff. So this is the survivor bias things. And I think a lot of AI algorithm suffers from survivor bias. It can happen, with diseases like COVID. People are like, well, COVID's not that bad. Like, yeah, because you survived, but 1 million people didn't. So you have a survivor bias. You're like, oh, all I had was a little cold. That's your experience, but you are one of the folks that had the bullet holes here, right? You didn't get hit with the bullet holes in the nose or the engine or the tail, right? Broke apart. So trying to figure out how to make the parameters in AI fit that is going to be pretty difficult. Jay, won't all these recent train derailments sway public opinion away from rail? I think the problem is that we ignored rail for so long, and we don't update our tracks. We don't maintain safety standards. We don't pay the people who operate the trains enough. We don't have enough people on the trains. So, they're fighting really hard to make one person on every train. Just one. Not two. Just one guy. He's got to watch a train that's 2.5 miles long. And it's just going to be one dude. And no automatic monitoring systems whatsoever because that's expensive. So it's just one guy going by feel across America on some giant coal train. That's not what instills confidence in rail. We need the Biden administration dropped the ball when it came to fighting for the union, trying to get better pay, more workers, more time off, things like that. So that the people who are working this incredibly necessary rail system, and most of it is freight rail. Like our freight rail in the U.S. is superior to that of Europe, but even then we're ignoring a lot of the infrastructure involved. Because we've got a wider gauge, we can have larger cars and stuff. But the Biden administration should have backed the union more and forced them to treat the workers better. And maybe we'd have more rail workers and we have a better system. Newly McWoolhead, the D-Lab test for the military was really interesting. You take it after the ASVAB to see if you have the aptitude to learn languages, and they give you easy or difficult language based on that. I never took that. My friend Will is in charge of the language school now. He's like the colonel in charge of the language school down in Monterey. And he got put there because he's a war hero and they want him away from all the generals who matter. So he got awarded the Medal of Honor. And then they'll try to send him like, you're going to go to Chile. We're never going to see you again. You're going to go work as the attaché down there. And eventually they brought him back, but they stick him with the language school now. So he's like long hair and a beard, and he still has a military rank, and they don't care. But it's, yeah. And he didn't have that. I don't know if he had the aptitude for languages. It's just that they made him learn Spanish to get him the hell away from all the generals. It's because the generals don't like it when like a bona fide war hero is like, oh, you shouldn't do it that way. Because then everyone goes, oh, the war hero said don't do it that way. So I'm going to listen to him and not you, the general. So when he was in the language school, I went down to Monterey. He lives in Carmel, and visited. We went to dinner one night with two other couples, and a couple of dudes, their wives, hanging out. There was wine and cheese this restaurant, and then when they left, we're heading back to Will's house. He's like, "Do you know who those guys were?" I'm like, "Not a clue." He's like, "That was one of the helicopter pilots on the Bin Laden mission, and that was one of the guys who shot Bin Laden." I was like, "Oh, interesting. Okay." So all the war heroes get sent to language school, and they got sent off to like Kyrgyzstan or whatever to get as far away from everyone. Absolutely, just it was crazy. Ron Johnson, maxed my ASVAB test, became engineer. That's why I took the ASVAB test for fun, and they wanted me to like do all sorts of things. I said, No, I just took it for the hell of it. SS Miller Johnson, have you ever been on public transportation? I'm not trying to get pushed off the platform or deal with pee smell. All the time. I'm on public transportation like constantly. That's not. I mean, there can be issues like that, but when you have like a solid society that takes care of people, and you've got universal health care and like substance abuse rehabilitation for everyone, and people have a safety net so they don't feel like they need to go out and like commit crimes or whatever, then you don't really have the problems with the pee smells and the people pushing others into the train tracks. You kind of give those folks the help they need. Improve society with great infrastructure, and that includes giving access to healthcare and safety nets for folks so that they can survive and feed their kids and everything else. Then you don't have those issues anymore. But if you've got a failing infrastructure and a whole bunch of people who have chemical dependencies and mental health problems wandering aimlessly around, then you're going to have lots of issues with pee smells and whatnot. Mooly McWoolhead, LA to Las Vegas rail would be huge. It would. That would be a giant one. That would do wonders. Bird Bear is supposed to be high-speed rail in Texas, but I don't see it ever happening. That was the one that Southwest Airlines said they were going to stop servicing airports in Texas that they built. I mean, Elon Musk's Hyperloop will never happen. Elon Musk has no intention to ever build a Hyperloop ever anywhere for anyone and make it legitimate. Like his whole vacuum tube, I can get you to DC in 40 minutes from LA. That's never going to happen. What he created it for and what came out in text messages was that he created Hyperloop to destroy public transport so that people would buy cars. So California wants to make a high-speed rail system. He goes, no, don't make the high-speed rail system. I'll build a Hyperloop that'll be better. And they go, oh, okay, I guess we're not going to do this thing. So it kills the high-speed rail system, and then he never works on Hyperloop. A city's like, I'm going to build a subway. Oh, no, don't build the subway. I'll build a Hyperloop, and that will work so much better than the subway. And the city goes, oh, I guess we'll have a Hyperloop. And he will never build a Hyperloop. The San Francisco Chronicle and the Fresno Bee did a fantastic piece of journalism on this a couple years ago, where they discovered that Elon admitted, he's like, yeah, I'm never going to build this fucking thing. That's when people buy cars. Screw you. So it's crazy. Like, you notice the Hyperloop went from vacuum tube that can send a whole bunch of people, like a bus or a train, to far parts of the country super fast in this thing, to get into a Tesla and go 25 miles an hour through an incredibly dangerous tunnel that has no egress or fire suppression. That became what Hyperloop was. Like, cool. Go to the Hyperloop in Vegas. Awesome. I went at walking pace from one casino to another. Rad. And I could die from a battery fire and have no way to get out. Homer's Ghost, U.S. Marshals have allegedly suffered a data breach. Wonder what that does. CTA equivalent, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, London, India, all have PP smell. Coincidence? I think not. I mean, I've ridden New York. I've ridden San Fran. I've ridden London. I've ridden Paris. I've not been to India yet. I've not done Chicago's transit. I don't really smell pee-pee smell on those ones. Um, but you just provide bathrooms for people, and then they use the bathroom. So problem solved. Make bathrooms for people to use, and then they use the bathroom instead. Jay, when RC tweets about China, is he talking about Icahn? Not a clue, but it is an anagram, right? That, you know, maybe if he's doing an anagram for that. SS Mino Johnson, they would just live in the bathroom. They won't if you have universal health care. That's all you do. You create a universal healthcare system so that when people are troubled, they go to health facilities or to rehab and they get rehabilitated. That's and introduced back into society. That's what you mean. 55% of the homeless in America have psychosis. 55%. 40% of the homeless in America were at one time foster kids. 40%. Right? 25% of homeless are veterans. Right? So like 80% of homeless youth are LGBT who've been kicked out of their homes. The Venn diagram of homelessness basically is almost entirely health issues, right? So if you got a substance abuse problem and you're homeless, you probably have a substance abuse problem because you're homeless, not the other way around. Like we remove you from your environment and put you in a new environment that's safe and stable, you no longer feel the need to like escape via substances. That's what they discovered with draftees in Vietnam. The draftees in Vietnam who had heroin problems, when they got out of Vietnam and they were no longer like going to die, they stopped using heroin. They didn't need to escape anymore. Like people who might have been physiologically addicted actually weren't. They just had to be out of that horrible environment. Like, well, I guess I don't need any heroin anymore. And they went on with their lives. So, yeah, the key is improve society, and that's the entire mission statement of the show. Is did we create society to make everyone's lives better, or did we create society to improve to maximize profits and drive revenue? Which one of those things did we create society for? I personally believe we create society to make everyone's lives better, and that's what I want us to do. So if you see a problem like homeless, you think, how can we solve homelessness? Well, for one, get them in a home. Boom, done, no longer homeless. But there has to be a support system along the way to offer them other things so that they don't, they won't revert back to homelessness again. When Switzerland had a huge heroin epidemic in the 1990s, I mean, just crime all over Geneva and Zurich and lots of petty crime because the heroin addicts were everywhere. Rather than cracking down even more on the drug war like the US does, they actually made heroin legal. Not only that, you would go to a doctor's office to have it administered by a doctor. He would take the heroin, he would shoot you up. And while there, he'd be like, hey, how'd you get addicted to heroin? He'd be like, oh, I was at a party and I took it and now I can't stop. Or I was having a shit day and someone says to make it better and I'm stuck here. He's like, oh, do you want to be addicted to heroin? Like, oh God, no. My life sucks. I want to be off heroin. And he says, okay, well, we can get you in a treatment program and we'll help wean you off heroin and get you better. And now nobody in Switzerland uses heroin anymore. The epidemic is over. So there's ways to do it. It's just that in America we think, oh, we have to just punish people to do the right thing, rather than just helping them. Oh, homeless guy, I don't like him being around. I'm going to shoot him with a paintball gun, and maybe there won't be any more homeless around here anymore. That didn't solve any problems. That just made someone whose life sucks suck even more. We're going to ban living outside. Okay. Are you going to provide them a home, an income, health insurance? Like, this person's brain is scrambled and they need something other than being thrown in jail for living in a tent outside because they have no other options. We just need to help people. That's what it comes down to. Help people. Create a system in our society to help people. And you make the society stronger. All you have to do is go to a country that has universal health care and see How there's no, like, you don't find shit in the street. You don't find tents everywhere. Because they're like, oh, that person's homeless. Obviously, they either just need a home, or they got mental issues, or they have substance abuse. Let's see which one of those three, because that's the majority of homelessness, it is. And if they're like, BBBY, like, screw you, I don't want to live at home. Well, guess what? You get to go live in a mental institution for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. That's where you're going to live, because we can't have you on the street, you know, being someone who's going to take up the rest of the emergency services all the time, and you can be gangrene and whatever else. I talked about this in like my third podcast ever, murder of the health insurance industry. There's a doctor in Hawaii who started prescribing homes to people, because what they were discovering was you had a whole bunch of working poor that lived in their cars and tents, whatever, in Hawaii, because housing is incredibly expensive. But they may have had a job at a resort or a restaurant or whatever, but they just couldn't afford the $1,500 a month it cost to pay rent. But everyone in Hawaii has health insurance. If you work 20 hours a week, your work provides health insurance for you. It's a pretty awesome law there. So everyone in Hawaii has health insurance. And these homeless folks living in their car, they were getting septic shock, they were getting gangrene, they were getting infections, MRSA, whatever, because they didn't have access to clean water and showers and everything else. So this doctor started billing the insurance companies because he's prescribing a house. He's like, this prescription is for one house. And so this person can go get a 1-bedroom somewhere for $1,500 a month. And the insurance company has to pay for it. The insurance company was like, this is outrageous. How dare you? And he's like, okay, you are currently paying $8,000 a month in emergency room bills for this person who has a whole bunch of preventable diseases. You pay $1,500 a month for them to have a house where they've got clean water. You will no longer have to pay $8,000 a month for all of their health care needs. And the insurance companies went, oh, okay. And now you have a whole bunch of people in Hawaii who get homes prescribed by their doctors, so they won't end up in the emergency room for preventable illnesses anymore. So, you know, give people homes. It makes things cheaper and easier in the long run. Okay. I'm way into that now. Tomorrow's Charity Tuesday, so I hope you're saving it up. I still need to, like, I don't know, flip a coin or something for which charity I'm going to do this week. We'll figure out what it is. So tomorrow afternoon will be Charity Tuesday, and bring your giviness, and we'll do that helping others thing that we were just talking about. Is that cool? Cat, you agree? Yeah? Oh, he just did the agreement of meowing. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow for Charity Tuesday, and we will rock and roll, right? Yeah! After dark, click. Some Peruvian chocolate.